Welcome back to another episode of the EventBuzz podcast presented by Purplepass. Today's episode is for professionals out there trying to boost their online traffic. Maybe someone who is constantly asking themselves the famous string of questions: how can I make my website more discoverable online? Why is my engagement so low? Why is nothing I do working? Today's guest is Elma Beganovich, a digital marketing authority and founder of A&E, a full-service marketing agency. As one of the top New York City's lifestyle influencers, she has been named a leading influencer marketing expert by Forbes, Business Insider, Financial Times, Entrepreneur, and many more. Elma, thanks for coming on the show. We are so excited to have you today. How are you doing?
Thank you, Savannah. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's just jump in. I wanted to just start by having you do a brief introduction of who you are, a little bit about A&E, so our listeners know who's talking to them today.
Sure. So, about us. So Amra, who is also my sister and business partner, we started in late 2012. This was before Facebook even had its pages out, world before then. But we started, and essentially we started as a blog. At the time, there weren't that many do-it-yourself blogs. And then essentially, we, garnered, I think it was like over the first 3 months, over 100,000 unique monthly visitors. And that's when brands started approaching us. Essentially, we, shifted to as social media grew, including Instagram. We switched to social media, grew to influencers, got over 2 million followers. And then essentially companies that started working with us as influencers, they asked us, can you do something else, with us? Could you essentially replicate your same model of success on social media? So, while we didn't know at the time, we essentially became an agency, a digital agency. So we started doing services, anything from growing their following, to influencer partnerships, and now to Google ranking. So, we're able to rank businesses number one on Google using, their, competitors' keywords, for example, Google keywords. So yeah, anything essentially digital to just, to channel into sales.
I like how far it's came from just starting from your blog. What was your guys' theme? What was your blog about when you first started?
Yeah, so sure. At the time we had, like I said, there wasn't that much do-it-yourself content, actually not much at all. At the time, there you had Vogue, you had Insta, you had Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, and so forth. So these essentially, big publications were kind of telling women, what to buy, where to go, essentially how to feel. And so, what had obviously happened, the media distanced itself. At the time it wasn't very interactive, so wasn't very relatable. And I think our content, the way that, our followers described it was like a prettier version of everyday. So it was more relatable. Mm-hmm. And the content, it spanned from, for example, travel to Croatia on a budget, which everyone was interested in, to, how to make a face mask out of your kitchen ingredients. So, this is kind of on theme with Lush at the time. So yeah, people wanted this like do it yourself. They wanted something that was more relatable, more affordable. And so I think we addressed that market and therefore, had quite a bit of traction.
Yeah. And I think too that you guys were so far ahead of the times and the trends. That really helped a lot. Because right now it's so much competitive. If I was like, I'm going to go do a do it yourself blog, like it's everywhere you turn, there's everything.
Right. Yeah. No, at the time there was actually only like 5 influencers. Yeah. So, and we started looking at them and following them. So, and we thought this is, especially I have to give credit to Amra, who, as mentioned, my sister and business partner. Like, she was a visionary in that sense, that she really saw, that Instagram and then, influencers would essentially explode. And so we got onto that. But again, at the time, no one knew exactly, how it would pan out. And
okay, awesome. Yeah, I was curious how you guys got started like that. And that's great. I have an older sister too. And that sounds like we have a great relationship as well, as I'm sure you and your sister do, to be business partners. So that's that's so fun. It's so,
And
I mean, I'm assuming.
no, it's been great. It's been challenging, but it's also been great. And I should mention also that, before we started this, I was at Georgetown Law. I was doing my LLM in securities and financial regulation, and Alma was working on World Bank project. So we were both in Washington, D.C. We had these sort of like serious, professional trajectories. And then obviously took a complete, deviation from that path.
Yeah. You never know. You never know where life's going to lead you. That's for sure. So just to dive in, we have a lot of our event promoters listening. And one thing that kind of has seemed to pop up a lot during this pandemic, a question is marketing, obviously. I'm curious, have you seen a big change in marketing practices during COVID, during this pandemic? I know a lot of people are spending more time online, spending more time on social media, if that's possible. Big TikTok movement. I was just curious from your perspective, how you think marketing has kind of evolved during this time, if it has.
Yeah, so absolutely. We've had more than ever requests inbounds about our services. So digital marketing. I think essentially everyone's going into the digital shift. So meaning e-commerce mainly, and essentially with a pandemic, I was reading the other day a data study, but basically it accelerated like by 5 years into the future, like in terms of the e-commerce and online shopping. So yeah, people are spending more time online on their mobiles. So that obviously really kind of, shifted the dynamics from physical location, obviously because of the lockdowns as well. So yeah, I think that, in terms of, online and promotion and marketing, yeah, it's been very, very, kind of like abruptly changed. So, and then obviously what has helped also is, social media is also developing new technologies. So anywhere from, I don't know, on Instagram swipe ups to track your, essentially ROI, your traffic to, IGTV to Instagram Live. People have essentially to Instagram shopping as well. They've been really, kind of using all the tools available. So essentially now, anybody can, kind of get into the game in terms of to be seen by millions of people if you're, savvy enough to use the technology available.
Exactly. Now's the time to become an entrepreneur and just go for it. I mean, maybe not with the pandemic, but because our technology is amazing. And like you said, growing rapidly and everything you need is available. And so COVID has definitely pushed us well into the future really fast,
Exactly.
Especially with remote work. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And obviously for us, and I'm sure everyone, it's been a really tough year. It's been a tough year specifically for events. I'm curious to know, how has your past year, what did it look like for you guys? I know you said that you have actually gotten more business, which is amazing. But when it comes to being an influencer, I know that's a big thing, being limited to traveling and having those hands-on experiences, especially when it comes to working with clients whose services are hands-on and they specialize in different products that people kind of need to see. How have you guys navigated that?
Yeah. So in terms of, for influencers, most of our work, about, 95 to 97%, it's just revolves around their agency. So actually like very little do we do as influencers, but I know in general from influencers we work with and that we, have in our personal network, it's been, we even did this panel discussion. It was actually a virtual event through Entrepreneur magazine. And basically the influencers, we were all talking about this sort of stay-at-home economy. So you can no longer showcase to your followers, some beautiful travel destinations. And it may even, look tone deaf if you go there and take the risk yourself because people are not obviously in that mood. Some may argue, well, they still want to dream. Yes. But so basically, the way to, win your followers, attention is also to be relatable, meaning, that they can see themselves doing what you're doing. So basically the stay-at-home economy shifted to, workout videos, shifted to cooking, even gardening. So, anything revolving around the home, and sort of your, everyday look and what, day-to-day life looks like right now. So yeah, influencers have also had to adjust and again, saying you can't be tone deaf. So pretending this is not going on. And, some have outright gotten backlash who did, go out or disregard, or they, tested positive for COVID and still went out. So, some have even taken their accounts private because of the backlash, because of their behavior. And some have publicly apologized. So kind of, others followed suit as well to see that, in these times, especially because social media is so interactive and people have more time on their hands. So they're going to be more busybodies, if you will, or they're more active online. They will, they will give you their opinions and feedback. And sometimes they're very strong. So yeah, tread carefully for influencers included.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think now with, which I love how our everything's changing, how we market is changing. And I think people really value authenticity now and being real, open and raw. And I really like that we're coming to that instead of being photoshopped, edited and fake. So like you said, be real, adjust with your audience, what they need. They, like you said, they don't need travel pictures right now. Maybe they need tips on how to stay in shape at home, working at home and being a teacher for their children. So adaptability is key, I would think, for influencers. But and then for your clients, working with them, because I mean, I'm sure actually, I don't know. Were you hands-on before, or was it a lot of Zoom calls in the past, or?
No, we were, very hands-on before. We had, events, live events, that we would host, and we would also invite influencers and caterers and work with hotels. So yeah, hands-on, they would come to our office, here in Times Square. So, but now, yeah, it's shifted to calls, or Zoom calls or Google Meet. So yeah, everything essentially, all the coordination part, the introduction part, everything has shifted to, virtual. So that's been, it's been interesting. But I mean, obviously for us, I think we're fortunate in the sense that it is doable. For obviously other businesses, it's not. But yeah, businesses too, they're trying to be creative in terms of, how to address their target demographics. So for example, within the beauty industry, you have a lot of, orientation towards self-care. And then the video gaming industry, for example, has been blossoming, and that's obvious, because of, people's daily activities are limited. So, some industries have done really well, and some of, like the travel industry and fashion industry too, have really taken a hit. And even fashion industry has had to, pivot. So, for example, focus on activewear. So, yeah, they're, every industry is looking for opportunities and looking how to adjust, considering our lifestyles right now.
Yeah. Yep. It's all about keeping up with the trends. Okay. So switch it up. You and your sister are obviously big influencers. That's how you kind of grew this business. For people that are interested in that kind of entrepreneurship, becoming an influencer themselves, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice you could give them? And I know for a lot of people, I have a few friends that have been trying to be like influencers for a while, and they come to a point where they kind of hit that marker of followers and engagement that they stay at, and they struggle with getting their growth and boosting their engagement. That's the biggest challenge I see with them when they're trying to grow their account. So I'm just wondering if you had any one piece of advice you would give someone that's looking into this kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, something that's really important to consider. It's basically, for influencers, and the reason they're so valuable is because essentially they become basically mini production houses, if you will. So they're like basically studios, that are producing this, incredible for their resources given content, and that others are, they basically stay glued to, because if you look at, production and studios, like ABC, universal. I mean, they have, a lot more to work with when the content they produce. So influencers are quite, they're a huge phenomenon because they're able to do this with like two people. And so I would say, people trying to break in or get past, content's still king. And, whether it's on Google or in social media. So you have to really be creative with your content and understand your own brand. And so, you become distinct. So you become memorable. But then you also have to, basically, invest a lot of time into the content production planning. And obviously, as you go further along, you will get better and better, but always keep your brand in mind. And I think with that, word of mouth marketing, nothing substitutes that. So if you can figure out your content strategy, I think, you're, at least halfway there in terms of gaining your followers.
Mm-hmm. And for businesses who want to make influencers part of their marketing strategy, what would you suggest for them looking into forming these types of relationships? Like what would be the approach for a business that wants to reach out to an influencer and maybe form a partnership?
I think, advice for businesses, you really have to know the influencer market. I mean, now it's become so vast. So you have to, if you're within the beauty industry, really like roll up your sleeves and understand who the, what we call the epicenter of influence is in that space. So for example, I'll use fashion, there's Chiara Ferragni and there is, Brian Boy. Brian Boy has fraction of followers that she does, but he's just as influential in the fashion community. So, and in fact, she follows him. So, anything that you want to set a trend, you can go to him for a fraction of the cost, for example, than her because of the following. So yeah, you have to really, really know. You can't just, you can't have an intern or somebody who's, fresh out of college. You basically have to have a professional who's going to handle your influencer marketing strategy. And I think that, there's no shortcuts and there's no way getting around that. So that would definitely, I think that would be a good starting point.
And you guys specialize in that as well, right? A&E, if someone came to you, that's what you guys do.
Right. So we do, variety. Obviously, influencer marketing has evolved. So, we do a variety of, services. For example, we had a fashion brand from Europe approach us and say, we want to do basically exclusive collections with certain set of influencers, basically celebrities and mega influencers. And they would just, would use their face and their likeness on our website. And they designed this 5-6 piece collection. And so, things like that, like limited collections to just, paid partnerships in terms of they post something for the product. It used to be events or trips and now it's, turned into virtual events. So yeah, different types of, they could be, for example, Zoom calls and panel discussions and Instagram lives. So, but where, they basically have their followers join and then talk, with someone from the brand, for example. So yeah, it's a variety of different types of partnerships or even forming a brand partnership with a, vitamin brand and then having the influencer sell, have a namesake brand under that vitamin brand and sell through their own website. So yeah, it's a variety of different partnerships, that we do services based on obviously the brand's needs and based on our advice to the brands, how they should, approach their influencer marketing strategy.
Yeah, influencers have become such a huge, huge trend. And it's hard for people that are traditional and aren't used to this. And we kind of been pushed into the future really fast. So I'm like, you need to get online. You need to look into these partnerships. People that are really hesitant about social media. I'm like, you have to be on that. You have to, whether you like it or not, you kind of have to go to where the audience is. So kind of forced us to either evolve or, jump overboard and get out. I guess so. Just to wrap it up, keep it brief. I wanted to end with the question, or at least a tip that you might want to leave the listeners that are, like I said, kind of slowly coming into the transition online, new to the world, new to social media. Just something you might want to say or where they should start if if it's a kind of like a new experience to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, they should start that no matter, what size the business, you should, you can start small, but make sure, like I said, it's, working with a professional. Don't think that you will, get away with, again, hiring an intern or, someone who's, fresh out of college, who's never done this. So hire, a professional, someone who's mature. And even if they take baby steps, it's okay because, that, one baby step, from somebody who knows what they're doing, it's, going to get you, 10 times further than, having somebody who has no clue, working on it like, 20 to 40 hours a week. And then you would even have to go up and, clean up the mess. So I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes that somebody who doesn't know this, they can dismiss it easily and say, well, my niece can do it. No, they cannot. It's way too evolved for that, phase.
Yeah.
So, I would definitely say, start out with a professional, like, even if it's something small, it's better than, like doing nothing, or I said even worse. I don't know which one actually is worse. Having someone who's, completely inexperienced, to start something, or, to throw, I think also to just not understand how to budget with influencers that can quickly turn into disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, social media is a full-time job. If you want to see real engagement, you got to be like commenting, you got to be engaging, liking, following the trends 24/7. It's like a dedicated role, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, it's a very much dedicated role. And then, also make sure that you have someone from the technology side work together with someone from the marketing side to set up basically, you need a way to track your conversions, your traffic, what happens in the consumer decision journey, why do they drop off? So you basically need to have an integrated marketing approach.
Yeah, I agree. So you need a whole marketing team for sure. Okay, well, thanks so much for taking the time out for joining me. And I know you've had a busy week, so I'll let you get back to it and enjoy the rest of your week and weekend.
Okay, thank you, Savannah.
Thanks.